Hello and welcome to the business of being an author. I'm Chris Ashmore. It was Archimedes, the ancient Greek mathematician, who said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." Of course, he was referring to leverage, and it's today's topic of conversation with Andrew Griffiths. Your book is your leverage to building your business. It's the part, Andrew says, that authors avoid, but it's what changes everything. Well, Andrew, you have a reputation of being an extraordinary book leverager over the 30 years of writing your book. What's the secret?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that something to be proud of? I think I'm going to say it is. I think for me, leveraging is the fundamental piece in this whole building a business of being an author. That whole element, it's the leveraging is actually, I've got this book, I've done all this work, I've created it, etc. Now I'm going to go out and I'm going to use it. So it's this great tool that I've created. Now I've got to do it. And that's what, to me, leveraging is really all about. It's like, it's actually now turning the book into that tool, making it work for you.
You say you're better at leveraging books than writing books.
Yeah, I do. I say it a bit tongue in cheek. Obviously I've got to know how to write a book now, and I've learned how to write books well. But I definitely, leveraging has been the difference for me, because like most people, I think I didn't really know what happens after the book comes out. And I literally do. The story that got me into that was really, after the book came out, I'd rung my great friend Ian Bowering, who was my publisher at Allen Unwin, and I think I literally said to him, "Where's my Maserati? The book's been out for 2 weeks, Ian. Where's my Maserati?" And he had this most wonderful conversation with me, which translates into, get off your ass, go out and promote the book yourself. It's your job. We've published a fantastic book now. It's up to you. And it was like, really? I just assumed all this stuff would happen. And that's why the key is, for your book to do great stuff, you've got to actually make it happen. And that's why, we've talked about that in things like mindset and just, getting ready. So yes, I realized then that I had to master the art of leveraging.
Mm-hmm. What's your philosophy behind leveraging books?
So my philosophy is that line that I've used over and over again when I'm coaching people, working with people, etc., is I say the difference between a philosophy and, I guess it's just something you've got to do, is it on your to-do list, leverage book today, or is it something you just automatically think about? And so I say I work to leverage my books, and I'm successful as an author because I leverage my books every single day of every single week, of every single month, of every single year, of every single decade. I'm hoping to make that of every single century, but I might be a little bit overly optimistic about that. But I really do mean that when I say that. And that's a bit that I try to encourage when I'm coaching people or helping people to build their business as an author, to say, that's what you've got to be able to think like, is leveraging is just part of what I do.
In practical terms, what does this look like for you?
Well, I think the easiest way I can really describe it is, rather than making leveraging a task where it's on my little to-do list, today must leverage book, tick. I think that's where we all start and we go, yeah, okay, that's yes, it's got to be that. But the reality is we do want it to be a philosophy. And that's that line that I use over and over again. I work to leverage my books every single day of every single week, of every single month, of every single year, of every single decade, because that is what I do. It's that philosophy is just leveraging is just my thought pattern. It's like my book comes into mind. First thing, any business, any interaction, how can I use my book in this situation? How can I leverage my book, whether it's new clients, prospective stuff, opportunities, or whatever. So I think that's the piece that we are aspiring to. I've been leveraging books for such a long time now that it is just an inherent part. My partner, she laughs all the time. She goes, God, you just automatically, the first thing you think of is my book. How do I use my book? How do I do this? And it's absolutely there, because I know it's such a valuable tool, such a great resource, that how do I then utilize it in that way? And it's a big step for authors to make the leap from it being a to-do list item to just being a part of my philosophy for a long period of time. That's the other part of it, not just for 2 or 3 weeks after I publish the book, but for the life of the book. How can I leverage my book? How can I leverage my books now, for me with multiple books and other authors? So if we can make it, it is our mindset piece and our philosophy piece, we increase our chances of it being successful simply because it doesn't rely on us going back to trying to make it be a to-do list item. Does that make sense when I kind of do that differentiation piece?
Yep.
Because it is an important piece of the overall puzzle, I think.
Well, it seems a lot of authors avoid doing that part, even though they want the results, but they avoid it.
Yeah, and I think there's a few reasons for that, Chris. One is they just don't know what to do. They go, well, okay, well, I've done my launch, I've done this stuff. Now I'm kind of going, okay, well, I'm sitting here looking at a blank piece of paper. What do I do to leverage now? So understandably, again, I'm a long way down the line. I've done a lot of work on leveraging, et cetera. So I know what to do. And I go, well, okay, to me, that's the second part of leveraging. We have our first part, which is we start to leverage the book early on, and the second part once the book comes out. But it's around, I know I can build credibility and drive sales and do all the rest of it. So what does that look like? One example I've used of really smart early leveraging is before I even start writing my book, I design the cover. So I've got a draft cover. Now that might change, but I promote that by doing a post saying, this is my next book. I haven't written a word, but the cover is out. Now that holds me accountable to make sure I write the damn thing, but it also then tells the world that this book is coming, which is a part of my author brand, my author profile. I'm leveraging the book before one word is written. Now, most authors write the book and then do the cover. And, so I get an extra 12 months of leveraging the book simply by doing the cover first. That's, again, part of my strategy and philosophy. Just to use that as an example, the second part then, when post-published. So that becomes a whole new kettle of fish because for most people then we go, well, we could do the launch, we can do all those bits, but now we hit that kind of graveyard period of the book is out, I've done a launch, I've done a dozen social media posts, and then there's silence. Like what do I do now? How many times can I do a freaking social media post that's buy my book or rah. So leveraging is also about knowing what to do. And that comes into this whole realm of all of the different elements about, sharing social media stuff, about using it to collaborate and reporting around that, around building products, about doing all the other kind of pieces that are there. So the reason that they don't do it is because they don't know what to do more than anything else. And it's sad because then the book just kind of trails off. It stops working. It stops being effective for them. Nothing to do with the book. It's just they just don't know what to do to leverage it.
So how many books do you give away and do you budget for it?
Absolutely. That's built into my budget without a doubt. And some years I might give away 1,000 books. A friend of mine, Daniel Priestley, he's an author and he is a giant fan of the book leveraging process. His belief is that every author, I think it's 1,000 books a year that you should be using leveraging to give to people. And this is, again, you've got to have the right philosophy that it's not about making money from selling the books. It's about turning a book, which is a seed, into a $10,000 product or whatever your product offering is. So my KPI measurement for me is, am I giving away enough books in a week? Now, I don't stand on a street corner handing out books to anyone who's walking by. I do it in a strategic way, but it's like, I'm always looking for opportunities. So, and there's a million examples of day-to-day opportunities, people that you might meet, people that are, in your sphere of influence. It might be something that you read. I read a newspaper and I go through, I still read a newspaper, but there's a new CEO at Virgin. Bang, I'll send them a copy of one of my books, and go, great, hey, this is what I do. Congratulations on the new job. The new Minister for Small Business, I'll send them a copy of a book. Another author that I like and admire, I'd like to collaborate with, I'll send them a copy of my book. A podcast show that I want to be on, bang, I'll find an address. Hey, I'm Andrew Griffiths, who I do. I'd love to send you a copy of one of my books. Might want to consider me as a guest for your podcast show. there's all these kind of areas that we can, leverage, that I would turn around and go, wow, okay, these are the ways of doing that. But again, in answer to your question about the challenge that people have of that is thinking in that way and knowing what opportunities look like. So for me, my budget every year tells me, am I doing enough marketing? Am I sending enough books out? If there's not enough books on the kitchen table, then I'm going, hang on, I'm not being active enough in my leveraging. So that's my KPI. That's my key performance indicator of how my business is going, is based on how many books I'm actually sending out. So it's key.
And how long do you do this after the book is published? For years and years and years?
Yes, yeah. I'm still leveraging my last book 5 years down the line, as much now as ever. You just get a bit more sophisticated. You have more stuff to share. The book has new additions, new updates. You start doing industry by industry kind of approaches to leveraging. You've got people reviewing out of the blue or unusual feedback. Like I got an email a couple of weeks ago from a couple of guys who do custom suits in Minneapolis, of all places. And they turn around and said, wow, your book's extraordinary. We followed your model. We've done everything. This is it was a really detailed kind of an email about how it all went and rah. Now they're teaching other custom suit makers to their model based on, charging what they're worth, all that kind of stuff. So we get these other kind of social proof pieces coming in that we can leverage and talk about. And we should be going on more podcast shows, doing more media, doing more, which gives us material to leverage the book. So it's not like every single post I do is going to be book, but my presence is still there. So that leveraging is still significant in all that I'm doing. But the actual physical leveraging of sending the book out, man, I'm as active now as when I launched the book. And the only thing that will ease that off is a new book coming out, which then I start to leverage the new book more. But I'll be kind of leveraging 3 or 4 books simultaneously.
Mm. And at risk of stating the bleeding obvious, when you send it to, say, a podcast host, it's not to get business or from them. It's their audience that you are getting in front of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, part of that collaboration kind of piece, again, that I'm looking at that as again another leveraging opportunity. So I think leveraging, it's an interesting point. Leveraging is not necessarily, there's a few reasons to leverage. And one is enhance your credibility. I think that kind of comes out by getting on a podcast show, you're reaching a bigger audience. I think another objective of leveraging is to build your community, build your tribe, so more people know about you, more people want to read your work or do business with you, buy your products, whatever it might be. I think leveraging can be to directly sell, without a doubt. Hey, I've got a new program based off the book. It's available if you want to buy it. Again, it can lead into a range of different kind of things. So the more we can think a little bit more broadly about leveraging, think bigger about it, think about it as a philosophy that we've got this great resource, there's all these ways we can use it, that's then a winning kind of mindset again for someone who wants to build a business as an author. Because you go, I've got this thing, now it's kind of limitless, all the opportunities. Then you can duplicate everything you've done with that book in another country, for example. In another industry, in another, element. Like I work with a lovely lady, great author, Kate Christie. She's self-published and traditionally published. And she wrote, a great book on time, saving time. And then she did a version for doctors, started a whole other stream of a book of hers, republished a new version. It was the same book, just tailored for doctors. The medical profession, hugely successful. She could go in and do that now for accountants, for lawyers, for candlestick makers, for whoever's next in that scheme of things. A big message I'm really trying to get across is that to just think broader, to think wider, to think higher, to think deeper about this authorship, as opposed to, I've written a book on that topic, I launch it, hope to sell a few, and that will be it. There's so much more that if we learn how to really leverage it, if we learn how to really use our book, that's the big opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Well, Andrew, it's such a huge topic, really, leverage. Do you have any final take on it?
Sure. And I think I kind of go back to where I started with that and say, if you want to build a business as an author and you really want to use your books to create extraordinary opportunities, you have to work to leverage your books every single day of every single week, of every single month, of every single year, of every single decade. It's as simple as that, and it's as complicated as that.
We'll finish with 3 key action points people can take away.
Sure. Yep, absolutely. I think the key point there is you've got to look at your leveraging as a philosophy. Move that into it so it's ingrained in all you do. And give it time and you will get to that space. But it's just got to be, your first question has to be, how can I use my book in this situation? How can I use my book? How can I use my book? When you do that for long enough, it just becomes inherently a part of what it is that you do. Secondly, your book will only help you to create a strong and profitable business if you use it. You know, like that's that point again. You notice there's themes coming through with what we're talking about here. And that, I know it sounds obvious to say that, and I get that, but I need to remind people of that all the time. Your book will not help you build the business you want if it's sitting in your garage. Okay, you got to use it, and you got to be generous with your book. Be prepared to use it far and wide. And the real primary objective of leveraging is to get your book in the hands of as many people as possible who can help you to build your credibility, buy your products, get you, media, all of the elements of, what we're looking at here, that the leveraging purpose is to just literally physically get your book into the hands of as many people as you can who are the right ones for whatever it might be you're trying to achieve. And again, I know we've said those throughout there, but it is a big topic, and I can't emphasize enough that this is the difference. This is the make or break piece of the puzzle. You can do everything else, but if you don't do this, it doesn't amount to anything. And it's a part that most authors will struggle with. Build a great brand, write a great book, do all of this stuff, but they just don't leverage it. So I'm on a mission to help authors freaking leverage. Learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. It took me a while to get it, but once I got it, I became a leveraging fiend.
That's it. Leverage your mistakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Chris. Nice chat.
And that ends this episode of The Business of Being an Author with Andrew Griffiths. To learn more or to contact Andrew, please visit andrewgriffiths.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.